see the slides? Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming to our virtual event. So first of all, I would like to give a brief introduction of this webinar. This is this is great. We have more and more people are coming. So this webinar is the spring webinar of DICE 2025. And we are going to have another one in the fall. And we are discussing on the topics. So feel free to email us if you have good ideas or you have good speakers. So DICE, under the Council of Exceptional Children, has virtual events and a lot of communication activities. So today, we focus on the topic of AI and special education. Okay. All right. So, okay. So this is the procedure of today's webinar. We are going to introduce, first of all, our president is going to, Dr. Watt is going to talk about DICE and the mission and our activities. And we are also going to introduce our three great speakers who have experiences with AI and special education. And then next we will have question and answer sessions. And after question and answer, if you have time, we are going to have our audience into different groups, breakout rooms, to share your experiences or questions, and our speakers and the moderators will go to your breakout rooms to discuss questions with you together. All right. So Jennifer, would you like to talk about the DICE and our mission statement and our activities and opportunities and the different committees?
Sure, thank you. Welcome everyone. My name is Jennifer Ward. I'm the current president of DICES, and we're really excited to have our first virtual event of the year. These virtual events started during COVID when we needed to find ways to keep our members engaged, and they've been really successful. So we're continuing to have them annually to bring together our global community. If you are a current DICES member or if you're new to DICES, welcome. If you are not a DICES member at all and you're just here to learn more about AI and special education or learn more about DICES, we're really glad that you are joining us from, it looks like, all over the world. I know I saw a couple comments from Dubai and Iowa and California. I'm sure there's more in the chat that I haven't seen yet, so welcome. DICES is one of the divisions of Council for Exceptional Children, and our mission is to promote knowledge exchange, collaboration, human rights, and advocacy to those who provide services for individuals with disabilities. And we really are focused on inclusive education around the globe. We host an annual conference. Last year was in Panama. This year is in Kenya in July. And next year is to be announced at the end of our Kenya conference. We'll find out where we are heading, where in the world we're heading next year. One exciting thing I want to share is we are celebrating this year DICE's 35th year of as an organization and as a division of CEC. So we're really excited to still be going strong and just to continue to be growing in our numbers. So as I mentioned, we have a couple of virtual events every year. If you are a member, you'll be getting, you'll find information about that through email. And if you're not a member, we always post on social media as well. So make sure you follow us on social media so you can keep up to date on any events we have coming up. We also have, every year we host several sip and chats, which are just informal opportunities for our members to get together and network and meet each other. And so we are actually having a planning meeting on tomorrow, I believe, to plan some more of those for this year. So be on the lookout for when that information comes out. And other events that we have just throughout the year, we are always advertising those, and we're looking for ideas for people who want to host events or want to participate in events. So there's always opportunities to get involved. And we also have, and I can drop this in the chat once I'm done talking. I can't multitask like that, but we have several committees as well. If you're interested in getting more involved or learning how to get more involved in diocese, we have different committees like the membership committee, the virtual events committee that worked to put this event together tonight, sip and chat committee, several committees that we're always excited to have new members get involved with. And so I'll drop the link to the form in the chat. If you're interested, you can fill that out and we'll put you on the committee list and you'll be contacted by that committee chair. And just one last thing I want to mention before we turn it over to the panelists is we're also working on a virtual learning gallery, a professional learning gallery, and it's being put together completely by our members. And we have different modules that we're being focused on and that are being built right now. And the goal is to disseminate them to our international community where there's a gap in resources and access to resources, and to be able to provide that as a resources to our educators around the globe. So that's one of the committees you can sign up for if you're interested in working on those modules. But other than that, thank you so much for being here tonight. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. And I'll just put a couple resources in the chat for those who are interested. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Watt. That's a very nice presentation of diocese and our opportunities and events. So next, as we have shared in our flyer, and this is spring event of 2025, focus on AI and the special education. So right now, AI has, no matter whether you like it or not, AI is changing our life in every way, including our teaching, our learning, and our special education. So today we are fortunate to have the opportunity to invite 3 experts with great research and work experiences of AI and with an international background. So today we have them here to share their experiences, their insights about using AI in special education, what the strategies we have, what the resources they would recommend, and what concerns we need to be careful about, so we can learn the experiences, lessons, policies of different countries of the world. So thank you for coming to our panel. So first of all, would you introduce yourself, Dr. Langran, please?
Yes, thank you so much for this opportunity to meet with you all this evening. I'm very honored to be part of this webinar, and I look forward to learning from you. Hello to all of the Ada Lipscombs out there. I don't know why it renamed everybody with the same name. And I don't know, as a webinar participant, if you can open up the participant list and hover over your name and rename yourself. But thanks for chiming in on the chat to let us know where you're from. I'm looking forward to the conversation. I don't have a special education background. I was a secondary teacher. I taught middle school and high school, ESL, social studies, and French. And I taught for 11 years in the US. I was in Morocco and the American School in Switzerland before I decided to go back for my doctorate at the University of Virginia in instructional technology, because I got really fascinated with the coming era of technology and education. Even though technology had been around a long time, I saw it was certainly going to become more and more prevalent in the education sphere. So I can tell you a little bit more, I think, in another couple of slides, Dake, about how I got here to the world of AI. I've been working in it since 2019. But I'm really honored that my colleague, Dr. Nikki Dowd, also from Marymount University here in the Washington, D.C. area, invited me to be part of this evening. And thank you to Jennifer Ward also, who's been a great collaborator. I've really enjoyed my first CEC conference this year, and I'm looking forward to your conversation this evening.
Thank you so much, Liz. Professor Pak, could you introduce yourself, talk about your work in Korea and your experiences in this area?
Hi, my name is Sangsu Paik. It's a great pleasure to be here with all of you. It's such a global event, and I'm in Korea. It's about 8 in the morning, and a little bit about my country. South Korea is a land of size of 70% of the size of New York. So you can have some idea about Korea. And Seoul is a capital city of our country. And the metro of Seoul is about like the population with 25 millions. It exceeds about like Australia's entire population. And I'm in Daegu, about like a fourth largest city. And I'm working at a early childhood special education department. I'm interested in inclusive education, early intervention. Sorry, as I told you this morning. And teacher prep is pretty much my major interest, and I try to incorporate digital kind of essence into the teacher prep program. And I also served as a dean of College of Education. Fortunately, I had a grant from the government to try to incorporate the AIDT, which is the AI digital textbook, into the teacher prep curriculum recently. So I have so much fun with that grant, as well as developing programs with it. So that's a little bit about my background. I did a little bit of research about the AI and the digital kind of educational tech stuff. But I'm in early childhood special education, so I can't really directly do research with young kids with the disabilities. But we try to use like VR stuff so we can promote their literacy as at the same time, their experience with the digital things. That's pretty much about me. And again, I'm so pleased to join with you guys. Thanks.
Thank you for coming. By the way, Dr. Pak and I met during CEC in the same session about AI and special education. It's a multi-presenter session, and we sat together and we found we are both presenters. And I really love his research conducted about AI in special education in South Korea. So I said, yeah, let's get connected, and yeah, that's how we invited him here.
Thanks
All
for
right.
inviting me, though. All right.
Okay. So next presenter, next speaker, we are fortunate to have Dr. Bree Jimenez. Is my pronunciation correct? How do you
Close.
pronounce?
Jimenez with an H sound.
Oh, okay.
Spanish.
So,
It's
all right.
okay. I'll answer to anything.
So Bree,
Yeah.
could you talk about yourself, your work? I know you have done great work in this area. You have grants, and you have been working
Sure.
on this, and you are also affiliated to University of Sydney. So we
Yes.
would love to know your multicultural backgrounds and the
Sure.
multidisciplinary background.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Bree Jimenez, and I am currently at Baylor University in Waco, Texas. And I also spent about 4 years at the University of Sydney and working in collaboration with the University of Sydney and in New South Wales and some of the state department kind of work there. And so recently came back to the United States. Well, I say recent, but with COVID, it makes everything in the last 5 years feel recent. So I came back in 2020 back to the United States. My area that I spend most of my time with is around the area of supporting students with moderate to severe intellectual disabilities. So all ages, early childhood through really post-secondary, but primarily kindergarten, so ages maybe 5 through 21 in the United States, 22, that K-12 kind of age. And my work is really focused with teacher preparation and teacher professional development to be able to support that group of students in school, specifically around academics. So reading, writing, math, science, and now engineering. And so, yeah, and really in the last couple of years, been diving a little deeper into the AI world to think about what does that mean from a professional development standpoint of supporting our teachers.
Thank you. Yeah, I read your great stuff. And Maria is also mathematics education, mathematics learning disabilities, and I read your stuff a lot. Yeah. All right. Okay. So now we come to our first question, first topic. Okay, so you just shared a little bit about your background, your experiences about AI education. Now we would like to know more deeper and more specific about AI in education, in particular for students with disabilities. And especially you are from different culture, different regions. I mean, you have experiences like Liz have been in Africa, in Asia, in Europe, so many different places. And Bree just came from University of Sydney. And Dr. Baek is from Asia, South Korea. So talk about your experiences about AI in education in all these different corners of the world.
Would you like me to start? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
fine.
So-
Either way, who want to start, or you can chime in, like I can add or something. Yeah, it's quite.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Well, as I mentioned before, I don't come from a special education background, so I'm really looking forward to hearing from my fellow panelists and from the participants this evening to help enrich my perspective. But in 2019, I attended the UNESCO Mobile Learning Week, which is an event I've been to several times, coming at it more from using mobiles for education. And they actually had the whole event talking about AI, and it was very clear that that was going to be something that we needed to reckon with in education, but it wasn't really on a lot of people's radar, at least here in the US. I think we were a little bit behind the curve in comparison with some other countries. It was certainly in use. We saw it used particularly with our students in intelligent tutoring systems, and some predictive analytics, some reactive AI, but we weren't, it wasn't until, of course, November of 2022 when people got so excited about ChatGPT coming out. And so that, of course, has changed a lot of people's interests in it. And I was very thankful that my colleague, Nikki Dowd, came to me and said, hey, I'm interested in incorporating this into special education. And we worked on integrating it into her coursework. We did some research on it, and I'm happy to share about our findings. And Nikki's a rock star, and I'm very thankful for the opportunity that this has actually given us to collaborate. So that's how I ended up in this area.
This is great. So you have any specific stuff to share right now or later?
I can certainly share as we go. So
Okay.
I'm happy to feed that in as whenever you'd like.
I'll jump in. This is Bree Jimenez. It's funny because I feel like over the past 2 years, I've just gone deeper and deeper. And the funny part of it all is that I don't consider myself a tech person. So, I kind of laughed the other day, even when being asked to be put on this panel, because I thought, well, who am I to be talking about AI? But then I thought, well, yeah, I mean, I guess at this point I've written a couple chapters and worked with, Siddle, and I've written a couple articles, but really from the perspective of someone who might be like some of the people on this call who are like, I just need to understand what in the world we're even talking about. And the more and more I've dug into it, or not even myself dug into it, but worked with other people to understand, probably the more complex it's gotten to where I understand, we say AI, but that can mean a whole lot of things and it's not new. I was lucky enough to go to Stanford, and we had this hackathon that I got invited to be a special educator sitting in the room with all of these people way smarter than I, working for Roblox and all these different places, trying to realize, like, how does AI really, how does it work? And here I am finding out that, AI was coined in, now I'm going to probably quote it wrong, but like the 60s, 50s. It's not new, and that it's so complex. And so when we say Chat GPT, we're just this tiny little tip. There's all these other types of AI and all these other things. And so I am particularly interested in the side of, as a teacher in the classroom or as a service provider, how do I use it, or how do I, as a professor, teach my students who are training to become teachers to use this in a way that is going to help them work smarter. And so I'll talk about it a little bit more, and probably a better time to go in detail, but I'm really, really, really interested in this research to practice gap, kind of all this stuff that we know works for kids, yet we don't always see it happening in classrooms. And I'm kind of a realist where I think if we're not seeing it in classrooms, we need to be digging deeper into what are we doing in the research world or in whatever world that is not making it doable. Because I think our teachers are learning about it when they're getting, in school to be trained. I think there are PD that schools and school systems are doing, but something is making it not, it's too much. It's too many balls to juggle in the classroom. And so I'm wondering if Chat GPT can help me write this little letter pretty quickly, and then I can draft it, and I just saved myself some time, and now I still have to use my knowledge. How could we start to think about that for teachers too, with all of the planning and all of the stuff they have to do in the classroom? So when it comes to education, I think I'm really interested in how can AI help us bridge the gap between research and practice.
That's a really perspective, really good. So Dr. Pack, you want to talk about, I see you give me some stats. You want me to share that? Okay. And
Yeah,
yeah,
I totally agree with the Bree. We are not the developer of AI for the, technologically, right? But we are kind of end user of AI to try to make it better, the better of it for educational sake. I think, but the most important thing is we cannot, stay behind all the text. We have to keep up with it. Like 30 years ago, sometimes like the word process has came out, right? And we have to use it instead of a typewriter. I think that's kind of the same thing. The AI is all over the world and all other places, and we have to make a, uh, take advantage of it as well as. And I think there are a couple of roles as special educators. we have to be like a very supportive users for other people to benefits of the technology, so our students get the same benefits for other students as well. And I think that wise, I think in special education there are some researches going on, and I did the same research as other people do. Like it's mostly in special education, we concern about writing IEPs, writing lesson plans, making more easier for teachers to work efficiently. I think that's most beneficial thing currently. We are using like ChatGPT and other things. And I did a couple of researches like that. And I'm mostly interested in like the in-service and pre-service teacher education, teachers' perception of AI and digital competencies. And I usually find through the survey and stuff like that, and there's a still big gap between their competencies and their use of it. So I try to, I think it's important to just narrow the gap between those two. So a lot of them ask they want to have like a hands-on experience with applications and programs rather than like teaching them the basic foundations like coding and stuff like that. That doesn't really help them to get better using AIs or any other digital kind of utilities. So I think we have to give them like a specific experience with the current technologies. That's what I kind of figure out. And also like AIs and ChatGPT through the researches, uh, it's a very effective and time-saving tools that definitely reduce teachers' workload and improve quality of education, I think. And there are a couple of researches that I did and I read it as well. And you know, in ABA researches, like ABA, it is hard to come up with a definitional, operational definition of behaviors and the data collection systems, right? Like event sampling, time sampling, a lot of complications there. So I'm currently doing this research, but I ask in-service teachers to generate those without the AI, like ChatGPT. They're having so much difficulties. But with the AI, help with the AI and ChatGPTs, they can develop very easily. And only thing they have to do is like check that if that's right. So it really totally saved their time and to make plans and come up with like a feasible tools to do it. So I think that those are the kind of area that we are benefiting it, and also for students as well, especially in Korea, we use like AIDT, which stands for the AI Digital Textbook. I will later talk about that a little bit more, but it's national boom, though we have more concerns. But the AIDT is rolled out already, and it's been practiced and used it in elementary to high school. And government to try to make it available for student with disabilities as well. And it hasn't been developed yet, but our government goal is to make it available during coming fall. So I think in actual classroom, student with a disability can take advantage of technologies as well. Before AIDT, we try to use like a lot of other things like metaverse, AR, VR, stuff like that, right? So kids can get hands-on experience with it, that they can really do it in real life. Sometimes that's too dangerous. Sometimes it's hard to happen. Things like that. But now with the I think we can use more individualized accessibility, to guarantee to have like a more experience to the curriculum that they couldn't really do otherwise. So those are the areas that I'm experiencing, and I have enjoying it. Yeah, I talk too much.
This is great. This is great. All right. So thank you for sharing your work, your experiences, and your insights, your perspective, what we can do as special educators in this AI age. I would say this is like kind of branding new. Everyone is talking about AI. Our identity is special educator. We are not really computer scientists. So what do we do? I think you share really good perspectives, our role, our identity, what we can do as special educators and also as special education researchers. So this is really great. So next question, we would like to know more about your experiences in your contact, not just I know where we have major activities in United States for Bree and Elizabeth. We want to know more about from different corners of this world. How is AI currently used in different countries? And for in education in general, or for education for students with disabilities, or is there any, like in your country, is there any specific tools, platforms that you want to mention to our audience today? Like say, like now we are talking about ChatGPT, right? ChatGPT is very general, actually.
Sure.
Someone raised the hand. Yeah,
Yeah.
ChatGPT is, yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in. I know there was a question in the chat box too, and I can put some links in the chat as well.
Oh,
But
that'd be great. Yes.
one of the things, so I work with students with moderate to severe intellectual disabilities and their teachers, but I don't think that the things I'm going to say are specific to that group of students. I actually think they'd be good teaching that we know works for just about all students, but definitely our evidence-based practices for teaching students with disabilities. And so we know explicit instruction is really important. It continues to be in all of our literature reviews for all populations of students, and we keep seeing that good explicit direct instruction can be really beneficial. And one of the tools that I've used and seen my students use in their classrooms, and we have, and there's some examples that I can put in a link also from an article that you can look a little bit deeper. But we know that breaking down steps of a task are really important. And when we look at teaching in a classroom, one of the things that happens is a lot of times teachers, or any of us, this could happen in really anywhere, community, home, or school, is that we think about teaching something and we think about this big overarching goal. But really, we need to break it down into tiny steps. So we call that a task analysis. And task analytic instruction is something that is just good teaching. But sometimes breaking it down is time consuming. There are AI tools out there, like apps that you can get, that are super easy. You can just like literally use the AI apps out there where you just are saying like a task analysis maker, kind of thing. But what we've done is we've used so there's lots out there. The one that I have an example of is used Goblin tools. And you can just go in and you can literally ask it anything. So for example, I might ask it, can you create a task analysis for self-monitoring a KWHL chart during a lesson? So that's, what do you know? What do you want to know? How will you find out? And what are you going to learn? And then it'll let you actually even break down the steps more. So, I mean, it could be tying your shoes. It could be steps for a science experiment. It could be, what are the steps for washing your clothes? It could be whatever, but it's a time saver as a teacher, or it's a skill to teach students. so they can learn to become more autonomous in their own learning, which that is something that we could use AI to empower our students. These tools can be really easy. So to me, that's like a first step, easy one to use in the classroom. Is just like start using AI to help you task analyze things. And yeah, it's called goblin.tools. And I also have an article I'll stick in here that is available online for free that you can look at that has examples in there. But I think that's a really, really great one. And there's more examples in here that you could see, but task analytic instruction to me is just the biggest one. And I just saw in the chat, and I'll just quickly say, proposing using it, to me, having it break down a skill, I'm not sure there is an ethical concern there. I'm not putting in any students specific information, but I'm sure there are ethic things that we could get into and maybe address more of what you're asking, Amy.
Yeah, that's a really good example, breakdown steps. Yeah. Yeah, thank you for sharing. If you can put the resource in the chat, that would be great. So any other thoughts, Liz or Dr. Pack?
Yeah, I just want to piggyback off of some of the things that Bree said, that so some of this is just good instruction. You know, I think it's very easy for us to look to technology to solve the problem of a disability, when really what we should be thinking about is, or what are the other issues, and to include people in the conversation. So shouldn't be like a solution to a problem necessarily, but we've seen teachers using it for leveling texts. There's a cool new app that Nikki and I are kind of playing around with called Autistic Translator, which enables people to put in text and to have it sort of take some of those nuances out, so it's a little more clearly understood by someone with autism. And so there's things out there, but so much of, like Bree was saying, so much of our brains are around ChatGPT as AI. And yes, it's been a field since the 50s. And even though it has accelerated tremendously, it represents, these large language model chatbots represent a very small portion of the world of AI. And we're going to see it built into more and more platforms, more and more tools. And so there does become, as was mentioned in the chat, there does become those questions of ethics, because privacy and surveillance, and I know we're going to get to that, I think, in a little bit, but there's lots of questions about data ownership, the ability to opt out. With personalization, it requires a lot of data from the users in order to personalize it, but there's of course some consequences for that as well. What happens when somebody's having a bad day and they're hovering over certain questions in the learning management system or the platform, and it starts personalizing and sending them down a path perhaps that was not intended, and it becomes very difficult sometimes to change your trajectory. So there's lots of questions out there, but I want to commend my fellow panelists and encourage everyone out there. We need lots more research in this field. It is a rapidly transforming field. We even though AI has been around for a while, it's getting built into more and more systems. It requires a whole new literacy, a dedicated approach into integrating it into our teacher education programs. But we need everyone to get out there and to help build the body of knowledge of what we know about how this impacts our teachers, our students, our teacher education students, and families as well. So I'd like to encourage everybody to do what Nikki did, partner with somebody, and even if you feel like this is not your field, we need everybody to pitch in and help us to understand and to get that information to the practitioners.
Oh, well said. I definitely agree with you. And actually, not sure we know or not. Like when we are using ChatGPT, say I use ChatGPT to say break down a problem, like develop a lesson plan, and I tell you you don't do well here, please do this, do that. Actually, you are making a contribution because this dialogue, your prompt with your interaction with ChatGPT will be part of their training data, and they will train their model to improve it based on your conversation with you. So, but on the other hand, keep in mind everything you entered in the chatbot or ChatGPT will be recorded. It will be part of their data. So there is an ethical issue or security issue there. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. All right, Dr. Pack, you would like to learn more about your thoughts?
I think ChatGPT is just a small part of AI.
Yeah,
We already
well, we
know
use
about
it a
it,
lot
and
here.
I think Bree told us before, like that's just a little thing, and there's a big iceberg behind it, whole
Right.
technology that we don't know of yet, right? And
Yes.
it's a kind of funny thing that without knowing it, actually it's in there already. And as I mentioned, the AI DT, AI digital textbooks is already being developed and used in Korea. And our government is so fast to, try to implement things without, agreement of all social consensus, things like that. But it's just rolled out already. And we don't know yet what that does for us, good or bad, but it's there. But that definitely we have like that platform available, and a couple of other things I already sent a PPT about it, but that has a link. Unfortunately, that's written in whole Korean, so I think you need a Google to translate it to see. But there are a lot of other contents for you to see what that is. So I hope you can take time to do it if you want. But I gave you like a couple of things there, like the powered AI powered digital textbook. That's what AIDT is for. And probably when you explore that, probably you will see like what are the benefit of the AIDT. But definitely that will like help teachers to implement the lessons, and that individualize the students' learning, and that they kind of pick the questions for the students' level. If they got something wrong, they kind of analyze what are the problems, what are the areas that they are weak, so they can, provide more practice and information so they can learn and grab and move to the next level and things like that. And the teacher can monitor them the whole process, things like that. And also sometimes the AI function generates some tips for teachers how to, what are the areas they have to focus on specific students, things like that. It's kind of a really fantastic in a way, but technically they will provide all the individual data, students' data, you know, like what are the areas each student have struggled with, what are the during the like math problem solving, what are the area they got wrong, things like that. And they kind of give us generate a whole lot of other similar questions to the students practice with, and provide the data to the teachers to see them, things like that. So it's very data driven kind of tools for teachers to utilize. Also, it provides like instant feedback to the students and instant assessment. And the teacher doesn't have to do like, do the test for students, what area they have to work on with each students, but AI does it for it, right? And also this use technology in special education. We have a struggle with accessibility, like a built-in text to speech, like for kids with visual impairments, and a lot of other things is possible to utilize it. So AI digital textbook use like accessible to learners with visual, auditory, and sometimes we're working on like a cognitive disabilities and make it more multi-modal kind of a way to do it. And for kids with intellectual disabilities, they have more like it cannot be tangible, but at least it come up with like some tangible examples. For instance, if they do the math, rather than just use numbers, they use more like tangible things on the screen so they can count on things. So teachers has to prepare everything for them. But nowadays, AIDT can just do without, teachers any effort. They can come up with all those alternative options. So that's kind of a good thing. Definitely, the contents I mentioned, the contents automatically adjust in real time to each students. So even if I do like one class with 20 students, but we use like a notebook and they kind of learn their own pace, and the teacher kind of teach them the general concept. And if students struggle with each quiz, it can individualized and adopt learning path and provide each kind of right materials in the test and context, and sometimes multimedia information as well. And the teacher can monitor with one computer for 20 kids at the one time. So that's probably benefits of that AI use in the classroom. But of course, there are so many cons as well as I mentioned about the pros. Uh, Teachers has to go through another training, whole training to use that system, you know, and it's like a transitioning from the chalkboard and chalk to the word processor and the computer, now AI tools. And that's another thing that, in teacher prep program, we never taught anything like that. All of a sudden, in-service teachers has to go through everything like that. And they probably need a time to adjust themselves to use it, right? And sometimes it might be handful to monitor 20 kids at one time with one small notebook. So I think that there's still big gap about it. And it doesn't come free actually in Korea. A lot of other companies developing their own textbook format, and they kind of sell it to the school. And that people, I mean, it's the same thing as a ChatGPT or other things, right? We have to subscribe it to use it, better version, right? Unfortunately, AIDT is like a government-led project, but the private companies to develop this, so we have to pay for the subscription, and that costs a lot actually. So that's another things to we have to think about it. I mean, it's just an example of a Korea AIDT, but technology usually comes with a price. The problem is who's paying it. I think that's something we have to think about it. I mean, in other forms, other ways, always it will come with some cost. Another things I think someone mentioned about it is privacy and data security concern, right? I mean, think about people know about everything about you, right? I think it's a good thing to individualize the learning, but sometimes it's scary. Everyone knows about me, things. What if it leaks and things like that? So I think we have to be more careful about like protecting the privacy and our data. I mean, our data is what consists of ourselves, right? So I think we have to be more careful about it, and especially for kids with the disabilities. I mean, they're already vulnerable for like information leaks, right? Privacy. And then we always talk about as if there's nothing that doesn't matter, right? But a lot of more information about kids with the special needs, it has to be it needs more protection in a way, right? So it's not about they do math or learn more words. I think that's more private information, so we don't have to regard it as light.
Mhm.
Yeah.
One of the things I was just going to say is that, so you brought up two things, and I saw a comment in the box is um, there are absolutely teacher preparation programs that are already teaching this. And it is being brought up, but it currently is primarily dependent on the professor or the program itself. I don't know that it's necessarily part of our teacher preparation standards yet. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, maybe it is, and I'm not aware, but I don't, I think it's good practice. And it's been brought up a couple questions about assistive technology, and that's exactly how I taught it. So I taught a class on assistive technology, and we did actually use the assistive technology. I will find the link. The standards or guidelines that came out about a year ago in the United States, and I'll put the link up. But we used them, and then we used assistive technology to go through each one of them. And what I did was have undergraduate students look at tools that could support some of the things that we needed to think about regarding accessibility and how assistive technology is meant to be used and supported. But then we looked at ethical considerations, and I don't believe that we can ever just teach our students what they should ethically be worried about, because it's going to change. So I had them create lists. Every single class, we looked at a different tool. We looked at what it was actually supporting, what it wasn't supporting, what was just busy work. I mean, we can throw AI at anything, and it might just be busy work for us. So we need to determine, just like we do assistive technology, what's the need? Why are we doing this? What's it meant to support? Is it worth it or not? And what are the concerns we should have or ethics around it? And I didn't answer those questions because I don't know. I had my students start to learn how to think critically because they're going to be in the
Sure.
classroom next year. So they've got to answer those questions on their own to determine. And honestly, some of our teacher preparation programs, we're working with 18, 19, 20, 22-year-olds. They are more tech savvy than I am, 100% more. And so they were asking way better questions that I could even generate on my own. And then the one last thing I was going to say is that one of the other tools someone had brought up, and Dr. Pack, you had brought up, was we used Mosaic, where our teachers actually upload their own videos. I use this in my research grant as well, where my teachers are learning how to, or they're investigating how to teach engineering design to students with intellectual disabilities. They record themselves and they run their own videos through the AI generator that gives them feedback on specific prompts in there. So for example, like opportunities to respond. So they ask AI, how many opportunities did I give my students to respond? Because we know that impacts students' success because of many different reasons. So if we know OTR, opportunities to respond, are really important, they can actually ask AI to tell them, which is almost like action research happening in their own classrooms. I mean, it's pretty cool. That's a paid program, just so you know. It's not necessarily cheap. I'm using it for my grants and for data collection, but it is something to think about, depending on, there's lots of things out there that can help generate data for you in the classroom, or for you as an administrator, or for you as a professor or teacher preparer.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, the ethics using internet. Nowadays they can kind of trace down your IP address, and that they kind of connect all the information about you, right? So they pop up the commercial that you search it or you liked it, whatever that you typed it in. Unfortunately, that's saved and used for you or against you. Right. So the
Exactly.
technology development of technology is like that. And we kind of use it as a handy tool, but somehow we don't know what's behind the screen. that's kind of sometimes scares me too. The new generations, they born with the technology, and I'm always struggling with that as well. I'm teaching early childhood special education. I hate my student to using like a PPT screen or big screen. That Korea is a very advanced technology country, right? In a way. So in preschool, we have like a 75-inch TV with the computers. They can just do with the phones and everything. But I personally believe the early childhood kids, they have the hands-on experience, right? Like Piaget and all other development scholars said, they have to touch with the environment and interact with the environment, and make it internalize, and that's how they learn. But nowadays everything is information based, right? Kids learn from the PPT computer. The screen actually is everything for them, and that's a whole new different generation. They probably learn differently from our generation. They don't need probably hands-on experience to feel the real thing. I don't know which one is a real thing anymore, but we talk about Plato, like Plato. Who's the scholar, the philosopher?
Plato.
Plato. So we talk about what's a real, but nowadays it's a one step beyond that. They kind of everything is not real. Everything exists on the screen, right? So new generation learn that way. They don't really experience the real existence, but digital information. And nowadays we cannot really say anything about it, as you mentioned, the Bree mentioned, like the 18 years kids, they know better than us when it comes to the technology, right? They use a lot of apps, technology tools that we never seen, as if iPhone came out first. The old generation people has to learn how to use iPhone, right? But the young kids, they know right away how to use an iPhone. I sometimes ask my kids how to use certain apps, things like that. But go back to the original argument. Unfortunately, we don't know what's behind the screen, right? That's a kind of scary thing. But at the same time, we have to keep up with the new technology. I think that's kind of describe our special education stage at the current time. We have to keep up with the AI, but we don't know how to use it. We traditionally use like how to make it useful to generate IEP goals, right? And use it like a lesson plan development and things like that. But it's been already much behind that. It gone too far, and the technologies that we don't understand, and we don't know what's going on with the technology itself. But we are just at the end of another screen and try to just use it without knowing what's going on behind the technology. That's kind of a sad thing. So we have to be more, be aware of other issues, as we mentioned, like the ethics and stuff like that, privacy and stuff like that. I know it's a whole different area to discuss, but we have to be more, aware of other issues like that as well.
Yeah, I think there's a call for a new AI literacy, because certainly our students might know how to use ChatGPT or other tools, but may not realize why they shouldn't put some personal information about their students into a platform. And I saw there was a question earlier, Amy. I didn't want to get too far behind on some of the chat questions there about administrators and getting kind of buy-in or getting them on board or adopting tools and such. And both administrator, I've been working with another colleague on talking to administrators and their use of ChatGPT or other chatbots. And you know, a lot of times they'll rely on the tech person to make those decisions, and they'll just see whether it's COPPA compliant or you know, gets all of the legal clearances on according to the tool, but the tech person might not necessarily ask the same questions that have to do with ethics. And so having a literacy of being able to ask questions about, well, who might be harmed by this? What kind of surveillance is there? Can they opt out of it? Can parents opt out of it? What do parents need to know? Do they have any input in any of this? And so our teacher education students and our teachers also need to have this new AI literacy to be able to ask those questions. And think about what are the implications. I know there's been some discussion in the chat, and thank you everyone so much for all of the robust conversations and questions and resource sharing in the chat. But when we talk about teacher education programs, there are some kind of parallels with the general discussion about technology in teacher education. The 2016 National Educational Technology Plan in the US had this phrase called calling for technology to be program wide and program deep in teacher education. So rather than just having one class for assistive technology or any other kind of technology, trying to integrate it and model it throughout the program has a much bigger impact on whether they're going to adopt it or not. So it's a great opportunity to have those conversations with your colleagues, with the person teaching the literacy courses, or the person teaching some of the other courses in the program. But I have found it's been a wonderful opportunity to start new conversations around technology.
Thank you so much, three speakers. Yes, and like in the United States, I see many schools. If I'm not sure if you heard of the Khan Academy. They have their AI chatbot. They have AI platform for you to generate lesson plans, for you to generate, say, emails or recommendation letters, generate a quiz. There are also school AI. Some teachers come to ask me like which one is better. I would say many of these platforms are all based on ChatGPT. So it's just a platform. They make use of ChatGPT. It's just like kind of they make a frame, like have setting up prompts for you, and then they make use of ChatGPT to generate an answer for you. It's the same, basically, like the same as you write prompts yourself, but probably they choose what's the best prompt, so you don't have to write prompt yourself. So that's the answer. So ultimately, it depends on like the training of our large language model, like Claude or GPT or Gemini, how the models could develop. So actually, it's not like this one is better or that one is better. Actually, many of them are all based on GPT or Claude or Gemini. So that's one question, and we already talked a little bit about our next question, barriers or concerns. I heard our speakers talking about funding because technology costs money, right? That makes more even unequal situations for some poor school districts or families because they cannot afford the technology, the subscription monthly. But the good thing is that because they are the competitions, like they are free for a certain amount of time. And also concerns, we talk about ethical issues. Yeah, you don't know what is behind the screen. On top of that, do we have any other concerns or issues we want to address? Like you want our audience to be careful about, or we want to discuss here today?
I have a couple of things like it creates like a discrepancy in certain ways. Like first of all, I think I already see like a discrepancy between the rural and the urban school resources in terms of when it comes to the technology. And in many rural and small district schools, the challenges isn't so much about like having the hardware in Korea. We have like a really good high-speed internet all over the world, all over the countries, and we supply like with the computer for every school. They collect too much. It's just kidding. Don't take it seriously. We collect too much taxes, so we provide all the notepad computers, notebook computers for all kids. Not the college students. But anyway, so the hardware is not an issue, but the sustaining the human and organization, the resources are not available in rural areas. So that's another thing that I see, like the discrepancy happens in one area, but I kind of afraid that it will be in further way, it'll be in between the like who have or have not will have this discrepancy. A lot of all around the world, there are so many other people there who doesn't have access to the technology, even for the internet, right? Then this problem, I don't know. I hope that will resolve it in a way, but somehow uh, create the disparity and discrepancy, like hard to get access to the newest resources, and it will lag them behind much more than it is. I think that's my biggest concern, and I already see, certain angles happening in Korea. So I mean that especially for kids with disabilities might be one who will experience that disparity and discrepancy. That's why we try to come up with all the AI technology, try to incorporate into the special education, but it's still hard, and the technology and other things are moving so fast, leaving behind us. So I think that's one concern that I have. And another thing is I already mentioned, and Bree also mentioned that the younger generation are much better at technology than us, but still it provide more like a rigid and burdensome workload for teachers. Especially I don't have to mention, but for all the generations. They are more pressure to use the new technology into the classroom, I think. And especially, I think this is true in Korea. Everything is a government lead and moving so fast, and they mandate to use it like AIDT in classroom. Though a lot of scholars and the parents are against it, they just push it into the practice, and a lot of teachers uh, still have a lack of hands-on experience with the AI tools, and they provided not satisfactory training, but they expected to use it, you know, like the Secretary of Minister of Education just to go around the classrooms and try to put out to the news and things like that. So they pressured, to actually use it, regardless of their will. So I think that's another thing that might create difficulties for teachers. So I think that this system, along with the AI tools, often, operates as a standalone sandbox in a way, rather than the integrating seamlessly with the existing uh, management system and the teacher's capacity. since that, as a result, I think it increases teachers' workload rather than reducing it. At the beginning, we talk about like how it is useful, to develop IPs and the task analysis and the writing ABA, come up with the operational definition, make a data collection system for us, right? But all of a sudden, everything is just poured out into the classroom, and the teachers are forced to use it, right, in a way. So I think
I think
that's concern.
I totally agree with you, and that's one of the things. I'll put the link in here in a second, that can be shared. But if you're not familiar with the SET framework, SETT, for its assistive technology, but I think this would be, plug for someone who wants to do research on this. But I think that we need to be really careful that we are using some sort of framework, some real good like thought about why we're using it and when we're using it. And again, working smarter than harder, but not just using it for the sake of using it. It's kind of, again, going back to that idea of, with the SET framework, you go through this idea of really looking at the setting and the environment and the student and the technology and what the goal is and why you're going to use it. It's not to use technology just to use it. It's to use technology to support the student in the needs, and not just support the teacher in the needs. I mean, I think it could be anybody. So it could maybe, the SET is also the student or the teacher, I guess. Thanks for putting that in there. Great. And so I think that's the thing that really scares me is, as much as like it's fun, and some of this is great, it is also, it's a lot. And going back to the idea of there are, there's probably five, 2 years ago, there's probably 50 tools that do the exact same thing. So it doesn't matter. You don't have to memorize them. You don't have to tell everybody they have to use something. It's the idea of recognizing that technology can help us when it's important to help, when we need the help, when we want the help, when it can enhance what we're doing, when it can support a need. And so I think that's the biggest thing. Otherwise, it's just going to be another, I use this analogy that as teachers we have and students, um, we have, we start with 3 balls that we're supposed to juggle. And before we're proficient at juggling those 3 balls to where it feels like we're just throwing one, we add 5 more balls to that and we can't juggle them all. And so we start to drop them. And so that's how I feel about technology. I always think something's really cool. I figure out this really cool way to start presenting things, and then it takes me 20 years to create one presentation in this new format, and I go right back to PowerPoint because PowerPoint's easy to me. I know what to do. And there's this really cool other tool, but it takes me so long and I don't become fluent at it to where it can maintain it and then generalize it. And I think that's what we need to figure out now is you know, how do we use whatever Goblin, or how do we use the task analysis creator, or how do we use all these other ones that got put in here? And rather than trying to use all of them, maybe determine what is the biggest need you have, or the biggest need a student has. And then think about, again, that SET framework. What tool could help them? And maybe for now, just stick with that one. So a question came up before, like, how do I feel about AI tutors? Hey, it's never going to replace us. It's not. They're not. It's not. I get it, the concern, but it's not. And so I think, yes, like if there is something that is a tool, we need to teach our students with ADHD, our students with autism, our students with intellectual disability, our students with just poor executive functioning skills. They're going to college, they're leaving, they're going to get a job, they're going to the community, they're at home, whatever it is. They need tools. And some of these tools are pretty good, but they're still going to need a human, or they're going to need someone potentially in their sphere to help them at times figure out which tool, or it's we use these tools constantly. So I think it's just another kind of AT tool that we could look at to support or help our students think about how to support themselves. I use AI all day long to support me, like a lot. Um, a lot. But I have to think about, and someone maybe didn't teach me, but I knew to do this. But I have to use AI to kind of create this list, and then I have to go through the list. I have to edit it. I have to make sure that it fits exactly what I actually wanted. Then I have to personalize it for the person I'm going to send it to. And then I have to, and then I have to, and then so there's still skills we're going to have to teach our students, but it's just another tool like a video model or like this. It could be another tool for that. So, and we have to teach our students with disabilities how to use AI tools carefully as well. And so that may not be common for a 12-year-old to know. There's judgment. So adults are still going to be needed, or other peers or however it is. But I think that's one of the biggest things where we just can't teach a tool because the tools are going to keep changing constantly. And some of them are free now and they won't be in a week. So we have to determine which one's worth paying for.
Bree, I love that you talk about how, the AI is serving you, and like the choice of because a lot of, I mean, AI is using us a lot. So I think that the idea of agency is really important, and trying to think about how to empower our students to be able to make some of those decisions, and have some autonomy and some control over it, I think is so important. I'm glad you brought up the SET framework too, because I was inspired. I was working with a group of people on how to develop policies for programs, like teacher education programs or doctoral programs. And so I can't directly put things in the chat to the audience, but I'll put it to somebody from the whose host can repost that. That's it's an open access article with a framework we developed for how to guide those discussions in your programs about what do we do about AI? And that one's specific to doctoral programs, but we've adopted it and used it with teacher education programs as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Actually, our large language models are changing and developing and improving very quickly. However, according to some recent research, they are still kind of limited, because their training data is all over like the internet world, and especially like say for say auto diagnosing students error patterns, something like that, science explanations, the accuracy is still not very high. I read a report last like the end of last year for science, like grading science projects, the accuracy GPT was about between 20% to 60%. So that's still kind of much lower than an expert or experienced teacher. So I think it's very important for us to teach our students, don't over rely on AI. They do not necessarily do better jobs than yourself. And yeah, because right now the goal is to use human as benchmarks to see whether or not AI can achieve our performance. And if they can, then means it's a good job on most of the tasks. And so I think like when I teach students, I will tell them like try to, okay, so you should know your trend, and you should tell AI, you should judge if AI does a good job or not, because you're an expert in this teaching area. And the pedagogy, what is the best for students. You want to teach AI how to do the work as you do, rather than making AI kind of direct you to write a IEP or something like that. So that's like my experience, because I'm doing a project and I found, okay, like we try to have AI to achieve our human experts level of performance. So this is something just to share. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I think we are, in a dilemma in a way. It's not really into the dilemma, but we try to make it accessible, the AI accessible for kids with a disability. But at the same time, we should educate them to use technology in self-directed, as Elizabeth mentioned, autonomous way, right? And a lot of AI that comes with hallucination, and the information they generated is not totally true yet. I think it's a imperfection of technology, but at the same time, we kind of read newspapers about it, right? They cheat us in a way, as if that's true, right? So our students also has to learn like the use that kind of product of AI more critically, right? I think they can, we can taught them and uh, teach them how to use AI tools. We cannot left behind them, right? But at the same time, we have to teach them how to use it wisely and critically. That's a kind of a difficult thing for us to actually really to intervene. But that area we have to work more, I think.
Yeah,
Nowadays,
definitely.
at this stage, we try to make them, hands-on experience and use it. But other than that, we're not really discussing any further, like even for the smartphones, a friend of mine told me that they don't, like on the phone, the gallery, that they don't have pictures of themselves because they don't use the smartphone to take pictures of themselves, you know. But nowadays it's getting better. It was like a story a couple of years ago. So nowadays they are really enjoying the taking pictures with the smartphones, and that they have a more technology get involved. Like they raise their hands, they take a picture, they say kimchi or smile, they take a picture of it, right? So it's much more easier to use it and more accessible for kids with the disabilities and intellectual level. But you know at the same time, we have to use it wisely. They're not supposed to take a picture of other people's without permission, but they do. Things like that. So one thing, we want them to have accessible to that new technology, but second, we have to teach them how to use it wisely and critically. So I think we are on that stage nowadays in special education. We want to sow eagles. We are so eager for them to have this technology on their hands, but still we have a lot of other things to take care of. That's how I feel.
Okay, thank you for sharing. We don't have a lot of time, so our last question about policy. What kind of policies in your own country or a country you have been collaborating with that either supporting or kind of regulating AI use in education? Because I think this is a really big issue, like for our university, sometimes we even don't know. Like say we have a student, apparently this student use AI in responding to like writing something, but to what extent we should say no, or to extent like this child is with disabilities, is with reading disability or writing disability, but with AI's help, he hands in, submitted a really nicely written essay or something. So is it cheating or is it just a use of a technology? And we also found like in our school, we have students who using AI in writing their dissertation. Like we report to the university, but university is like, oh, we don't have policy about this.
Everybody needs to have a policy. I just want to say how thankful I am to have been in this discussion tonight. And this is like the first time that the word plagiarism has come up, because so often in so many of these conversations, it's like the first thing that everybody goes crazy about. And so I really appreciate all the attention to supporting students and to thinking about ethics. I, of course, want to underscore the issues with the accuracy. If you saw the Washington Post today, there was a couple of newspapers that ran stories about recommended books, and somebody had the writer had just used ChatGPT, and several of those books didn't even exist. So I think
right. We found that in students' dissertation.
yeah, and I think the fact it comes down to this thing that the Dr. Paik just mentioned is like not having confidence in your own abilities, and so you turn to a tool because you think that it's going to do a better job. So but as far as policies, I don't know whether you were more interested in the national policies, or because right now it's a moving target. Of course, in the US, we saw an executive order on April 23rd talking about AI in schools, in K-12 schools. But at the same time, they've canceled a lot of NSF funding. They've gotten rid of the Office for Educational Technology at the U.S. Department of Education. So we're really not sure how that's going to go. And we know a lot of the guardrails are coming off for guiding the policies and that regulate these big companies. And so I think that we're going to have to really increase our surveillance and our advocacy towards having AI that protects privacy, that prohibits surveillance. And I think it's a great moment for advocacy, because right now the big tech companies have all the leverage and none of the responsibility. So I'll see. I don't know what my fellow panelists have to say about that either, but I think it's an important time for us to really think about it and make our voices heard.
Right. In universities, we are kind of come up with like policies like plagiarism and things like that. But it's hard to catch sometimes, you know. We have a copy killers, but we don't have like AI killers. So we have a policy in place, but it's a hard to kind of reinforce in a way. And also government level, they are kind of talking about the policy, but it's not really any written policies available yet. And our country, as I mentioned, we are so fast forward and moving forward kind of a spirit. And sometimes most of them are like a government driven. So we have to like come up with the technology and think about the ethics later. Not totally ethics later, but you know, of course, some certain technology go faster than the regulations, and there's always like a cultural lag behind in those issues, right? So a lot of media talks about it, and the people talks about it, but uh, we don't really have that policy in place yet. But hopefully sooner or later, since AIDTs are already rolled out, the certain things has to be come up with more definite things. And can I have a minute to answer some of the questions that I posted on the chat?
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah,
Yes.
people are so
Yeah, we're
wondering,
moving
and
to
they, yeah,
Q&A.
well,
Yes.
yeah, when people just keep asking me about. In Korea, teacher prep, like in College of Education, we have a couple of requirements for all the pre-service teachers to supposed to take it, like special education, intro to special education class, 2 credits. They supposed to take it no matter what. And there are a couple of other stuffs like that. But from 2024, the educational technology class is the must to take it. 1 credit or 2 credit, whatever the school, they have like their own liberty to take the choose it. But that's another big changes in Korea. So every pre-service teachers take 1 class of educational technology. That's one thing. So our teacher prep program try to move forward with the technology, I think. And the contents of the digital the class nowadays covering like AI literacy and somehow AIDT kind of stuff, and things like that are supposed to be in place in the coursework. And some people ask like early intervention, how we use it. Not much in a way yet, but I think there's still great potential about utilizing AI. And I happen to have like a SLP certification. And I think the languages SLP area already use the computer system to correct that pronunciations and sentences. I think those are the more things that we can utilize in the language development of young children with the disabilities. Also, a colleague of mine actually did like AI and the challenging behavior research. The AI kind of collect all the data of types of forms of challenging behaviors, and they monitor it. They collect the data, and somehow they kind of recognize in certain challenging behavior forms, and the people without like the what is called like if they are left alone, and when they kind of erupt with the challenging behaviors, say for injuring or something like that, the AI will detect that motion, and they kind of somehow alarm to the people so they can just come up and available to help them. So I think those are the another area that we can probably utilize it into early intervention as well. Like a grading system for the parent-child interaction, motions, like data collection systems like that. Yeah, that's pretty much how we possibly use it AI into the early intervention. Yeah.
Thank you. This is great examples, and thank you for sharing the resources. That's our last question, but we already addressed them. Like in our chats, we shared a lot of our resources. And is there any other questions people ask, and we asked it in the chat, and we did not answer? Because it's almost the time. We are finishing at 8:30, and it's already 8:36.
I do believe we've answered the question about utilization of AI, the implementation of it, if we're going to be seeing some barriers as we see with assistive technology. Was that answered?
The very first one?
Yes.
Yes.
I think there's...
Yeah. All
Oh.
right.
I was trying to keep track of all the questions, so if there's any others that were in the chat that I missed, feel free to either write them again in the chat or ask them.
I think Aaron just asked a question about next steps for submitting interest for committee positions. Aaron, I'm going to post the link again in the chat. Feel free to complete that. There are a list of committees that you can join.
Yeah. Okay, and last, we want to make an announcement that we have our next this year we have our Diocese International Conference in Kenya in July and early July. So this is a great opportunity for diocese members to get together, present your research, and explore different culture and the different education systems. So thank you for everyone. Thank you for coming. Thank you for our two moderators, and thank you, Jennifer, President of Diocese, and also many thanks to our three speakers to share your experiences, your thoughts, everything. This is really helpful. Thank you. And we are going to, we already recorded, we are going to edit and put in Dice's YouTube, the official YouTube. So you will watch it later after a couple of weeks.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, our
for the
speakers.
conversation. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.